And I just decided to go with him. And we talk about this. He knows about my past experience and how faithful it is for me. But he said he was going to do his best and he will make sure I'm comfortable with my delivery. And I trusted him. But unfortunately, the same thing happened again. So by the time he started cutting me and I told him I'm feeling pain, he was like, "No, you can't be feeling pain." I said, "Yeah, I am." So it was like, "Raise your leg," and I did. But they were not prepared. That is my story. That is what I believed. And I believe that something happened on that bed that day. When I got to the immigration border, I was returned. I was returned with my baby. Yes. So
No, wait, let me get straight. So you were pregnant, coming to the US to give birth
to have a
and
baby.
to have a baby, and at the point of
Yes.
entry, they turned you back.
Yes, they turned me back. So the first thing I felt was a culture shock. Exactly, is like, how will I have to be hustling for a driver's license? We don't do that in Lagos.
Let's double it. Let's double the dose and see if it
Like
works.
those, like you will never fail. So by the time he started cutting me,
Hello, welcome to Life as we Say podcast with A&A. I'm here on this episode with another special guest. Her name is Damilola Kuku. She is a Nigerian immigrant who lives in Canada with her husband and 2 children. She moved to Canada in 2017 as an international student and has since settled down in Canada and thriving and doing well. She's an entrepreneur, a financial professional, and she's working on a book. She's going to talk to us about it. And yeah, we're here to hear about Damilola's story. So welcome, Damilola. Thank you for gracing us in your presence.
Thank you so much, Siki, for having me on your podcast today. I'm so glad to be here. It's wonderful having this conversation with you. And how is it over there in the States?
It's been a nice summer, very warm. Summers can get really hot, but not complaining at all. How's it been in Canada?
Canada's cool. Canada is not bad. Like just I told you, I went on a trip. It was as if I went on a trip to Hellfire, but now I'm back. Because I went to Vegas. Vegas, oh my God. So damn hot. Wow. Yes. It's a different kind of heat. Trust me.
Yes, more than Niger heat. Oh,
I tell you, like when I got out from the airport, I was like, "Is this real? Like, is this really heat?"
They put in an oven, like 400 degrees, like oven. It's not humid, right?
It's not humid though. It's not. Yeah, it's not humid to eat, but that eats more. It's as if God intentionally put the Sin City in Hellfire. So when you're enjoying the whole rave of the city, you know what it feels like when you go to hell, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Nice. Hope you had fun. Did you gamble? Did you do anything fun?
I tried not to gamble because I went for a business conference, but I had fun. I had a very great time. I had to experience both the city and also be focused enough for why I was there, right?
Yes.
So, well, it was good. It was fantastic. I love it. I really love it.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today with, everything you have going on. Appreciate it. So Damilola, let's go straight to the point. And can I call you Dami?
Yes, sure. Please go. You can call me Dami. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So Dami, can you tell us, our audience, and I also want to know, I'm curious, tell us about yourself, your background, what it was like growing up in Nigeria. I'm Nigerian as well, so I know, how it feels like at home. So just give us some info into you.
Sure. Yes. So my name is Damilola Kuku. I grew up in Lagos State, Nigeria, but along the line I met the man of my youth, my sweetie pie, and he was based in Lagos too, Lagos and Ogun State, but then he moved to Ogun State to work, and that was how we met. I was on the unit then, and that was how we met. And slowly but surely, we started a family, and we started that in Ogun State. So we started our life in Ogun State like every other young couple, very settled, very balanced. I was into business for sure. I loved business, even though I studied food science and human nutrition in Ogun State, but in Ogun State University, I pursue, business. I was always like, that sibling you have that can sell everything to you when you're growing up. That kind of siblings.
I know
And my
that
mom
one.
calls me Yalaji. That's the term of a woman with an entrepreneurial sense back then. So
Yeah.
that's the way I grew up. And I knew for sure I was going to run a business. And when I was in uni, I always loved to do photography. And, when everybody's talking, oh, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. I even made a contact card as a photography, business owner. So by the time I decided to go into business, I was lucky enough to learn photography for like 3 weeks back in my church, Daystar. And that was the start of it.
Oh, this
After, yes,
okay.
yes.
Great church.
After that, I was like, sure, why can't I just go and learn photography? The integrity of the business and everything. My baby was just almost 3 months old. We live in Ogun State, so I had to shuttle between Ogun State and Lagos State
Lagos.
every
Yeah.
week. Yeah,
Wow.
that was what I did for like almost
Wow.
4 months, learning photography and the business of photography in Lagos, which was really good. My experience was fantastic. I grew along the line. I fell in love with the business. I fell in love with my new life. And unfortunately, I lost my mom in between.
So sorry to
So,
hear that.
yes, thank you. That was the start of a new life for me. Being a new mom, I had to focus on, this part of my life, which is my baby, my family, putting all my efforts into ensuring, I can be the best at that while still grieving. So I felt like I did not really grieve at that time. I was just trying to hide under, take care of my baby, try to, grow and all that. But that was it. I feel that was a real big impact in my life, not grieving when I should. So by the time I was going to have my second child, 3 years after, I decided to have him in the US because of my experience the first time with
Okay, so
my
your first
daughter.
pregnancy wasn't
Yes,
easy
my
in
experience
Nigeria.
wasn't great.
Okay.
But so that was the reason I decided to go to the US to have my baby. And, because I've been to the States, I understand how it works. And I just felt like, okay. And also when I went to the States, my friend just had her own baby. She had a baby when I was there. So I felt like, so this kind of life exists, like, without you praying to God before you go to the labor room. And
You're in safe hands, capable hands.
I
Yeah.
tell you, it was so fascinating for me. And I felt like, okay, I want this for myself. Myself and my husband, we decided, like, okay, we can afford it. So why not? Let's do this. Let's have this. Let's have that peace of mind that comes with having a child in a relaxed environment. And
So, sorry,
unfortunately,
Damilola, before you proceed, because for some of our viewers who might be listening who are not Nigerians and don't understand the climate there when it comes to medical services, and
mhm,
healthcare, what does that look like? Like for your first pregnancy, were there risks or things that happened that made you realize?
yes. So for
Okay.
my first pregnancy, my pregnancy was really smooth. So
Mm.
when I say my pregnancy was smooth, it's the kind of pregnancy where I had to go and vomit at every minute. I couldn't eat. That was smooth to me. And
Well,
like
okay.
for my first 3 months, I was hospitalized. I was in and out of the hospital. But it was just a process and I enjoyed it. It's challenging, but I fought through that. But the hardest part was when I was going to have my child and I was
Mhm.
on labor and, doing the procedure of having a cesarean section, my epidural failed. So it was really hard, but thankfully my doctors were prepared. So they were able to put me to sleep because I was going to do the spinal epidural, but that failed. And they
Mm.
put me to sleep to have my baby. So for the second one, I felt a little bit of, oh, I don't really want this to happen again. Right? So why can't I just go to a country where I can
Well,
actually have my
things,
baby and,
yes.
without all this thought of, oh, what could happen, what could go wrong and all
Mhm.
that. Since we can also afford it, right? So when I went to the States and my friend had a baby, I got to meet with the medical team, talk about my experience, and they gave me an assurance that, oh, this might not necessarily happen, because they put so many things in place and all that. So to cut the long story short, it never happened. It never came to pass. When I got to the immigration border, I was returned. I was returned with my baby. Yes. So
No, wait, let me get straight. So you were pregnant, coming to the US to give birth
to have my
and
baby.
to have a baby, and at the point of
Yes.
entry, they turned you back.
Yes, they turned me back. So it was like I would say it was ignorant on my own path, because I thought, okay, we had the money to pay, I know
Mm-hmm.
what it's going to cost me, even to the point that I've planned on my daughter's daycare. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to pay for the daycare, is settled, everything is settled. But I just didn't know that you had to do it differently, like probably go through the medical visa or things like that. Do you
Okay.
understand? So because I
Wow.
had a visa already, I felt, okay, it's okay, I could just go and
Okay.
have my baby. But the
I
situation
didn't
really,
even
really,
know that, Dami. I'm learning this. I thought you could just come here with B2 and give birth. There's a special
no,
visa for expecting mom.
exactly. But the thing
Oh.
again is, if you want to go give birth, right,
Mm-hmm.
in the States, and probably you went with your B2 visa, you should have all your money in cash. If you show them,
Oh.
like, oh, I have my money, I can, you can see it physically that I'm ready to pay for it. It depends on the decision of the immigration officer you're facing. You
Mm.
understand? Is that like, I don't feel that there's a set rule to those things.
Okay.
Most of those things are just okay, depending on the officer you
Mm.
meet. It's just the discretion of the officer, right? So if the officer think that, okay, you can pay, you have the cash, and it's one thing that all having a bath in the US also helps the economy. You're
Mm-hmm.
bringing in money to spend. Why not? They would
True.
allow you. But in
Mm-hmm.
my situation, I wasn't carrying cash. I had all my money in the bank. I just came in like with my daughter, but I was going to show them, okay, I can pay this. But it was like years ago where you don't even have mobile banking. You don't have all those things, and it was a weekend. So by the
Oh,
time I
no.
got to Texas, my husband was sleeping already in Nigeria, and it was a week. Like I said, it was a weekend, so we couldn't just figure it out. And unfortunately, I was sent back. The grace I had was I didn't really tell a lot of people that I was going in. So I just went on my own. And when I was sent back, it wasn't like a lot of people to explain anything to and all that. But then I felt there was a switch in my mood. There was a switch in my thinking. The fear keeps coming up like, oh, what is going to happen? My gynae, I couldn't register with him because I thought I was going to have my baby in the States. So I didn't use my gynae. I used a new gynae, and my gynae was one of the best gynae in the States. So I thought like, okay, I would rather go back to my gynae, and all. By the time I reached out to my gynae, it was fully booked. It couldn't accept me as a patient. So I had another family friend that was a gynae, a very good guy, and I just decided to go with him. And we talk about this. He knows about my past experience and how faithful it is for me. But he said he was going to do his best and he will make sure I'm comfortable with my delivery. And I trusted him. But unfortunately, the same thing happened again.
The
And this time,
epidural
nobody was
first.
prepared. So,
Wow.
yeah, unfortunately, nobody was prepared for, putting me to sleep and all that. Because I believe you call them anesthesia, right?
Mm.
He was like, don't worry, the previous experience was because you look so tiny and they give you small dose. So probably pumped me
Mm.
up real well.
Let's double it. Let's double the dose and see
They
if
were
it
like,
works.
triple dose. Like, you will never fail. So by the time he started cutting me and I told him I'm feeling pain, he was like, no, you can't be feeling pain. I said, yeah, I am. So it was like, raise your leg. And I did. But they were not prepared. That is my story. That is what I believed. And I believe that something happened on that bed that day that
Mm.
changed my life forever. Because by the time I had my baby, I just started having a headache. And it's normal for you to have spinal headache because probably you stood up too fast, which I experienced the first time. But I felt deeply inside that this is different. That this is different. This is not the usual spinal headache because of the way I was feeling. To cut the long story short, that almost took my life. I end up having what you called subdural hemorrhage,
Oh
which
no.
they have to do like a removal of liquid in the brain membrane. In a space of 1 month, I had two grievous surgery. So it was just too sad. I was just in constant, and you know how it is in back in Nigeria, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
treat the patient and then you treat the physical ailments, but nobody wonder about what is really going on inside of you. You know, how are you
yes.
processing it? You know, nobody look at that. Nobody care. It's not like they
So,
don't care, but they just don't see it the way we are
yes.
built, right?
Mm,
So that was it for me. I started having this fear. I started having great fear of, oh, am I going to die? I needed to think, where am I going to live? Oh, is this going to be, you know, so many fears
mm,
like that just kept holding me back. So by the time I had my son, I just decided to go full into my business, start my photography business, and it blows on really great, fantastic, grew real well. I had my studio back in Ogun State, then had another one in Lagos State. I was shuffling between both. I was able to lock in great businesses. I landed in different. I trained Ogun State's youth on photography. I did branding projects for the Ogun State property management. You know, my business really started growing, but then I wanted more. I wanted more
right.
in life. I wanted a situation where my daughter won't have to go through the same thing I
The
went
same
through. You know,
experience. Yeah.
yes, I started feeling like, okay, what if I get sick? You know, what is going to happen? Do I really have that medical support that will take care of me during my old age? You know, or even if anything happened to my son, now I have children. I have children to think about. What about my husband? You know, those things just started coming to me constantly.
Yeah.
We felt like,
Value years. Yeah.
exactly, we need to just do something different, do something
Mhm.
different. And that was it for me. That was when I
But
decided, okay,
Damilola, how did you like? I'm still so shocked by what you went through in the hands of that, the medical professionals down there. What was your recovery like? I know you said you lost your mom, so sorry to hear that. But did you have your siblings? Did you have your parents? Like, what was the support for you? Like, because you're a go person. Like, after all of this, you just went straight to, business, everything thriving.
what really happened doing those things,
Yeah,
right?
between.
So the thing about it is this: at first, we didn't want to put it to the fear out there to our family. So we didn't want a situation where everybody is going to be very very concerned because we didn't even know what was going on. So at first we didn't know it was that huge. We felt okay, it's just a spinal headache, right? And I was managing it. I just made sure my phone was not close. I put my phone far away, and I was trying to take care of myself and my baby. My husband was always there. It's like we decided to make it a very close family unit.
Okay.
So, like after delivery, we have 1 week of people coming, and that is it. We want to like bond together, have that close
So,
net. So that's how it was for us. So by the time I started having, there was this day that I can never forget, and that was when we had to rush to the hospital. Like, okay, this is not it, because I always tell my husband like, I can laugh, it's hard. I can't cry. It's hard. Like I can't really do so many things. I remember a day I carried my baby and I started losing the feel of my hand, and my baby was about to fall. So many episodes like that made us feel like, okay, this time we need to just go. And then we got to the hospital. I just told the doctor that, it was FMC, that's the teaching hospital in Ogun State. I said, I feel something is very, very wrong. Like, this is almost 2 weeks I've had my baby, and I've been having this constant headache, and I'm also losing some balance. So I feel this is really wrong. So the doctor just looked at me and said, it's not right. Even if it's subdural headache, even if it's spinal headache, it should have relieved you a bit. So he
mm,
just put me on an injection called mannitol. I believe it's mannitol. So what that injection does is like it just frees a part of it frees on the liquid that is not supposed to be in the right places in your body. So
mm,
that froze the liquid, the sequence in my brain, but then the weight was there. So it's the weight now that started giving me so many other reactions. Like I started having double vision. I started, falling on my body, like almost being paralyzed on my half part, the part at which the weight was on, crazy ringing of the hairs and all that. So the first person we had to call was my sister-in-law because she's a matron. She's very amazing. My sister-in-laws are very amazing. I don't see them as sister-in-laws.
mm.
They're more like sisters to me.
Yes,
So when
that's
she knew
yeah.
about it, she just came straight because my baby was like a week plus. So both of my sister-in-laws came, and one was home with a baby, the other was with me. So she immediately we did the CT scan and realized what was going on. She referred us straight up to Lasot, because it's either we're going to Lasot or we're going to that Ibadan teaching hospital, right, in Ibadan. But because
Yeah.
she's more familiar with Lagos State, we decided to do Lasot. So she did our teaching classes, our teaching training careers then in Lasot.
Mm-hmm.
So she has a whole lot of nurses she knows there. And that was the first step. So we went to Lasot then, and that was the journey of my recovery. My sister-in-law was there. My husband literally had to be there, But my siblings, we still kept it a little bit close, because we just don't want to put our fear
You
into
need to
people.
worry, yeah, give them
Yeah, they
concerns.
should not be worrying about situations like
Mm.
that. So by the time, it's a long story, it's a long process. Even the old hospital, even from the getting the wrong test results in Lasot, that could actually switch my surgery to another day or another week if possible. It was just a very difficult time. It was a very difficult time. But I won't forget
Oh, it's,
the presence of my sister-in-laws, their
mm,
support, then my sisters over time, because my mom was no longer there, right? So my sisters were there too. By the time I was done with my surgery, my sisters had to come. And they were like, it took a span of like 3 to 1 month that these people had to keep going from Lagos to, Ogun State. But it was a very strong family support system. And also I won't forget, like, the likes of my husband's bosses, fantastic, great people. Even my gynae, the one that couldn't take me as a patient because it was
mm,
down the head, like it once lasted as well. So it was also there. Even my doctors, like all of them came to show the support. And at times when I feel so down, at times when I feel like, okay, why am I here? I'm just this very young woman with a very promising future that seems to be almost snatching out, and those stage you just start feeling down and depressed and all that. It's just you seeing these people and the support they're giving you, and like my husband telling me that, oh, we're gonna make this, we're gonna get out of here alive, nothing's gonna happen. That keeps me going. So
wow, that's
when I was done
awesome.
with that, I had to keep myself busy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like just everything you described, the support, the challenges, having all of those people around you reduce like the severity or the pain of, whatever that situation was. It mustn't have been easy, I
Yeah.
assume. I mean, it's
Oh,
terrible. I
true.
hear of, in Africa, infant maternal mortality is so high, compared to the rest of the world. So honestly, oh my God, thank God. I'm happy. Yeah. Thank God for this
Oh,
one money. Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I was
Thank
going to ask, my
you.
next question was what motivated you to then immigrate to Canada? I think, if I'm
You
not
know it
mistaken,
already.
all of this experience, already is
I
in this.
know.
This time we need to leave this place. Okay.
Yes, you know it already. And I have to tell you, at the point when I was gonna leave Nigeria, because by the time we started another branch of our business apart from the
Mhm.
photography. We started doing logistics service,
Okay.
just building our logistic service slowly but surely. And then I decided to come study logistics here in Canada. And at that time, my business was really thriving. Like,
Mhm.
I felt like God, because my immigration journey to Canada was another story entirely. Like from a whole lot of rejection to rejection to rejection, back to back to back, And by the time
Wow.
that happened, it was a time I wasn't so sure I wanted to leave. I'm like, why? This is when, my business is really, really thriving. I'm starting to make waves, I felt like, is it the right time?
Mm,
I wasn't really sure. But the why of what I wanted to achieve and the why of why I was leaving was the only thing that kept me going. So I always tell
mm,
people, I said, no matter how much your why evolves, make sure you have a very strong one. It should be the
mm.
foundation of every of your decision. So your why is a web. It connects you to everything. You have to know
Everything.
it. When you're sleeping, you have to be seeing your why. No matter how
Mm,
much it switches, there's still this one constant thing that have to keep you going. And that was it for me. So even when I saw my business is thriving, I still told myself, okay, when I had that episode, money wasn't like a problem. Do you understand? So if I think
mm,
I'm making it, my business is growing well and all that, but that is not the reason I want to leave, anyways. So the why was just strong enough for me to keep going and pack my bag and move to Canada as an international student.
Hmm. Wow. That is awesome. So when you moved to Canada, did you go with your family or you migrated alone first and then your family came later?
So I came in alone. I came in
Okay.
September. In fact, I came in on my birthday. So I
Okay.
landed in
Oh, wow.
Canada on my birthday. I came in alone and moving to Ajax where I live with my friend. I seem to have some friends around in Canada, right? So but
Mhm.
I decided to stay in Ajax because for me it was like living out of Lagos, which I always love. I don't want to live in Lagos. So Toronto was like Lagos. I'm like, no, 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 the noise is too much for my life. So we actually moved. I moved to Ogun State and I was here for like 3 months before my family moved to Canada before they came to
Okay.
meet my kids, especially my kids was going to come. So the 3 months was like 20 years, you know?
No, I can especially when the kids are young. How old were the kids when
So
you
my
left?
son was 4 and my daughter was
Mm.
7 at that time.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
you know how it is. I was in school. The time
Mm.
difference was crazy. You're going to be trying to meet up with everything. And to
Yeah.
top of it, the challenges you face as a new immigrant, it was
Oh.
endless. You know, from waking up to the morning to catch the early bus in the winter, of course. So you're
Mm.
trying to get something as simple as your driver's license. When I came to Canada, people literally go to do Thanksgiving when they have their license. You know,
Really?
I tell you, yes. They go to
What
church
was
to
the
try to
law?
thank you, Lord Jesus, this happened to me.
I know compared to Nigeria where you don't we don't even do like just get your license. You walk into and get your
Think about
license.
it, like how long you've been driving in Nigeria, then you came to Canada, you came to a new country, and you have to also for license. You have to study, you have to know the road.
Do
You know,
driving
it's
test,
just
do actual driving. Yeah.
oh my god. I said that the worst part of everything is unlearning. To unlearn.
Yeah.
It's easy when you're learning, but when you have to unlearn the things you've known already, like the way we drive in Nigeria with, all the rave and busting and all that, and then you have to calm your nerves, like, dear Jesus, take
Yeah.
control. you know,
You have to become sane. You have to become sane,
you
literally.
become insane. So it was just crazy to get in a house. Getting a house was like, I tell you that I must be rejected for almost 10 times before I got a house. No
Oh
joke.
wow.
No joke. Because people don't
How is
trust
it
that.
in Canada? What's the like how do you because here in the US you want a house. I mean, for instance, I came as an international student as well.
Mhm.
I didn't have any challenge. I don't remember if my landlord wanted to see my I-20, like my documents to show that I was a student. I don't remember that. I just remember I had my rent and I was able to rent a house. So are you saying in Canada having your rent isn't sufficient? There are other
No,
things you have
it's
to
not a
present?
guarantee. No. So
Oh
what I want to
wow.
see is how are you paying your bills? What is your
Okay.
credit score? What are you
Oh,
making?
credit score.
Oh yes,
Okay.
they want to see your credit score. Like
Hmm.
if you want to rent a house in Canada, it's as if you want to write jam. You remember jam, right? Like you have
Yeah, really.
joking. I'm not joking. They want to see if they want to. They'll tell you to go and print your bank record. Some landlord
What
will
if you're
tell you
new to the country? You don't have any history, no bank record, nothing.
that's it. That's it. Like you have to keep going from one house to one, and you'll be oh no, I'm sorry, oh no, and they're very nice people, you know. So the way they tell you the
Mm.
story, you even take it gladly, and you just move to the next one.
The next-
So yeah, I
Oh,
tell you, like it was one of the toughest time to get a house. And when I got this house, the one I lived in for 5 years, it was like easy peasy,
mm.
breeze. Like my landlord, he didn't ask for nothing. And I'm like,
Oh,
when God want to do his things, he has his own way. You know,
true.
what is good for you, God will give you at the right time. Because this my landlord, like this family literally took us in like their family. They took us in like they're not even Nigerians. To think of it, they're not even
Mm.
Nigerians, right? And it took us in like their family without asking me to go and bring my mom's birth certificate and my father's death report or anything like that. You know, they
Mm.
just took us in and, everything was just very easy from there. So that's why I always say that there's always a miracle somewhere. You just
Yes.
always have to find a way to figure it and open your mind to it as well. You
Yes.
have to open
Yes.
your mind to it because if not, you know, you're just going to struggle for
Mm.
a very, very long time. So
Yeah. And this
Migrating is
country has it
yeah,
there. Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
No, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
And I just said migrating is really, it's not a straight, smooth road. It's nothing you figure out in your mind.
Yeah.
It's good to come
And
in.
note.
Yes, please go on.
I was going to say, no two people's journey is ever the same,
Mm-mm.
right? No two
No,
people's journey, because
no.
I know some people back home might want to also might immigrate, leave the country. I mean, if that's what they want to do, we're not saying people should leave the country. But if that's what they want to do, I think they should go ahead and do it and not hold on to other people's negative story, because we all have different experiences. Some people come, everything works out easy peasy for them. They settle
And
in,
that's
they
it.
get everything. Some other people come, yeah, they go through some hurdles, but they
Mm-hmm.
still settle in. That's the beauty, right?
Eventually.
There's a
Yeah,
structure, there's a system that ensures that, okay, things might be rough, you might work hard, but eventually there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's
that's
what
it.
makes,
That's it. And
society good.
that's still all about your why, right? Your why.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a very strong why, you keep going no matter what you face. So it's just about your expectation should always be different from your results and your goals and your hard work. Because you're working so hard. When you first migrate, I believe the two major things that will set you apart is your hard work, your work ethics, and your
Mm-hmm.
goals. Your expectation, you have to be very careful with that one.
Yeah.
Because people move in and believe that, oh, it's easy, oh, you do this. No, that's the expectation, but you have to be very careful with it so it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, drive you downhill. But your
Mm-hmm.
hard work and your goals. So no matter what you come into Canada, or any other country, whatever country you found yourself, you have to understand that whatever it is you're doing right now is just a roadmap to your future goal to achieve that eventually we're talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
because you have to drive Uber, because you have to do all this minor job, doesn't make your future blurry, or doesn't mean that your future will never happen. Those are the
Yes.
things that just happen. Because even if you move from Lagos State to Ogun State, it's still a lot compared to you
Mm-hmm.
moving from one country to another country.
Another,
So you should
yeah,
just trust your
yeah.
process and don't have like unrealistic goals and expectation.
Expectations, yeah,
Yes,
yeah. And don't be despondent. Don't feel like, oh, it will never happen for you, for me, because if
mm,
you stick with it, it will. I mean, you're such an inspiration hearing you, actually, I don't want to sound somehow, but I feel like for most times with our culture is men are raised to be very enterprising, to be very they want to go out there, make money, start businesses, make things going. Not really women. I mean, a lot of women are, and I think for
mm,
some women it's even innate, it comes naturally for them. But just hearing how as a mom, a new first time mom, second time mom, like with all the challenges, you were still going hard at your business, right? Whatever you set your heart to do, you always made it happen regardless of the challenges. I tell you,
sure.
it's very, very inspiring, right?
Oh,
Very, very
thank you.
inspiring. So, yeah. So, Dami, just a quick detour as well. I wanted to, and I have more questions for you, but what were some of your initial culture shock? Because I know my own when I came here, when I migrated, what were the things that,
So for me, I would say that probably because I'm a frequent traveler, honestly. And I tell you something, even as frequent, I could say like, okay, I've traveled to one or two places before. I've seen what it is like. It's a very big difference between when you go on a visit and you're living in a country.
mm,
You know,
true.
it's two extreme different realities. So
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I felt was a culture shock. Exactly, is like, how will I have to be hustling for a driver's license? We don't do that in Lagos. You understand? Coming to here and be like, what? What do I have to
What
study?
to
And
prepare?
trust me, if my
Born
first
midnight
time,
to read the exam for driving. Kilo day.
I said, why? And I went in there, wrote the exam, and I failed it. I'm like, hello, I'm not going home. I'm not going home. So that was real culture shock for me. Like, I don't understand why I have to also that hard for
Yeah.
things like driver's license. Do you understand? And
Mm-hmm.
again, another culture shock I had is I believe that was the first time I was living in a cold place. I've been here. I intentionally came in the winter before, but that I just had a short trip during the winter. But this time I was going to live in a freezer, and I felt like, okay, why? Why on earth would God make a place this cold?
This world.
And I'm like, okay, no, that doesn't even make any sense. So
Mm,
those was a little bit of shock to me. And
mm,
like, I've been to Canada before I relocated to Canada, so I
okay.
understand one or two things about it.
Mhm.
So, but those are the real reality that were done on me. When I said that something shocked you, those were late for me. I
Things.
would be like, okay, it could be more of like, you need to get to somewhere
Mm,
and you have to be on time. I try to always be on time.
yeah.
But here, unlike in the UK, when the bus tell you that, okay, you come at 5, I feel that was a shock for me, because the
Mm,
transportation system then was so different. It was really different. It's really different here in Canada. Like, literally, I can miss my bus for 2 minutes and I have to wait 1 hour, and that was in the winter. So those are the kind
mm.
of, like, why should life be this hard? Why can't they give me
How is it too
opportunities?
structured? Can we just have some? You're moving from a society where it's extremely chaotic to one where it's extremely structured. You're like, can we have an in
Hmm,
between?
would somebody be this mean? Those are the
Oh my
real
God.
shock for me. Those are the real shock. The
Wow.
reality that, okay, when you have to get to the bus stop, you have to get to the bus stop. Don't go sluggishly. Even if you have to
Yeah.
walk and be there on time. Those are the things that were really shocking to me. I
Mm,
I was fortunate enough to meet good people.
good.
I met a lot of good people along my journey. My very, very good friend, now late, God rest her soul, she made things very easy for me. She's a Canadian. I met her just at the line of work. Another thing
Mm,
was having to work midnight as an international student. My work was starting at 2:30 in the midnight, and I had to
oh,
go to school in the morning. So those are the things that were not really settling, but yeah,
mhm.
I still took it as it was, and I made
Yeah,
it happen. I made it work for myself.
I
Yeah.
like I like that. So, with your family coming, so your family, your husband and kids came after 3 months. How was it like for them settling in? And how? So we have an episode on our podcast, which I think is one of our best, top performing episodes till date, where we talked about why marriages fail or why
Mm,
marriages get rocky when they
right.
relocate abroad, right? So, has there been any change in dynamics, for instance, in your marriage, for instance, your relationship with your spouse, or even your parenting style, right? So, how
Mm.
is home life in Canada different than it was in Nigeria for you?
This is a very good question. And trust me, one of my co-writer, we started talking about this. Like, it
Mm,
was even last week. Because I had to go through, like, okay, why do marriage tend to fail faster in a developed country? Because I got to see, like, people are really respected. People I know were friends, couples were friends. And I feel like it's so sad that I have to see them go separate ways, right?
mm,
And you have to be very conscious of the fact that your friends to both individuals. So you have
yes.
to be very intentional with the relationship, because you don't want to lose any one of them. You understand? When it
Mm,
comes to couples are really like individual people are they have different strengths. They have different, relationship you've built over time. So when it comes to like marriage breaking and all that, you as a friend of the couple, you can find yourself in a very difficult situation sometimes, because you don't want to pick side as well. So,
yeah.
and this conversation also is what I discuss with my husband frequently, because I feel like, okay, as a couple, you have to see it as a partnership.
Mm,
And as a partnership, you're running a business. When you start your business, no matter what business it is, even the woman selling pure water on the road, she has a goal. Do you understand? And that is the
mhm,
way it should be in a marriage. You should have a goal, a common goal. This is what we want to achieve as a family.
mhm,
Whether your husband is going through Yaba to make it happen, and you are passing through Oshodi to make it happen, that goal
mhm.
should be centralized. And that should be
Right.
the focus of both of you. So if I have to work midnight to make this family goal a reality, you
Mhm,
as my partner should be able to support me. And if it's the same way, you have to work days, I have to step up.
mm.
Do you understand? So
Yes.
by the time you're not aligning with this goal as a family, you start to see it as a competition.
Mm,
You know,
interesting.
she's working so much,
Yeah.
he's making so much money.
Yeah.
Do you understand? He's not always available. I'm the only one taking care of the kids. She doesn't cook anymore. He can't help with the dishes. Because if we know that, okay, this is why we're doing this is why we came to Canada, for the betterment of our family. If I have to wash the dishes, I have to.
Right.
If you have to take the kids to school, you have to. If you have to stay up, you have to. Because we have a common goal we're working towards, right? So it's like you won't have conflict. You will. But still understanding why you're doing this, what is the goal we're trying to achieve, will make your relationship a little bit smoother. That is how I see it. And that is how I always want to operate. Especially when we run in businesses, like my husband runs a business, I run a business. The availability might not always be there. But somebody has to always be available. Because now we have kids that are growing. You don't want them to miss out emotionally either. And we also have to be, one thing I always say is that you have to be very fair in the way you treat each other. You have to be very fair. Empathy is key. Put yourself in one another's shoes, and no matter what it is, the family comes first.
Yeah.
Family comes first. So no matter how busy it gets, even if it is 5 hours we can spend together, be very, very intentional about it. Be available during that 5 hours. Show you're a member of the family. You're a team member.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Yeah. So that is the way it is for me. The parenting style is very different, trust me. You know where we come from now. And now I have a very strong daughter. I have to be able to balance it out. So many things that have happened over time, especially with growing up, teenager. One thing I always tell myself, I always like to give myself grace. I'll be like, I've never done this before. This is my first time. This is my math. I've never been able to a teenager before. Yeah. It's really kind of difficult, but you have to. It's just all about wanting to learn, being very flexible, especially with this generation, the kids we're raising now. You don't really want to be like no and stand on it. You want to give them reasons. It's not a matter of go and sit down, they don't leave here, don't do this. No. Why should we do this?
Why?
Yeah. Explanation. You have to explain. So these are the things that actually help. And you have to think about it. When we migrate as an adult, right? And we're able to think. We're able to plan. The kids, sometimes we don't consider that they would go through some things as an immigrant. We have to understand. I remember when my daughter came home and she said, "Mommy, somebody in my class said that I should speak English." You understand? And I'm like, I was speaking English. I'm like, don't mind them. Do you understand? These kids, they go through that.
Confuse her so much because as a child, she doesn't understand the nuance, right?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Because she has an accent.
Exactly. That is it. As we adults, when someone says, "Oh, I don't understand your accent," you can deal with it. You're an adult.
Yes.
So when it comes to your kids, it's different for them. They go through the same thing you're going through in a different way. So you have to be available to make sure emotionally you're supporting it, because that's what they need at that time. So all those things make up to the totality of how you're building your family, how you're supporting your home, how you're making sure, two lovers don't become strong enemies. It's all about what is the family goal? What is our commitment? You want to tell each other that, okay, no matter what we go through, we want to keep this family. We want to keep this family. It's our business. This is what we've built over years. We spent how long building this family?
Yeah.
Do you understand? So everybody's cases is different. But I've also seen it in recent time that the rate of breakups and divorce in a developed country is pretty high. And it has to do with both parties. I can't say one is, is the woman or is the man. No, it has to do with both parties. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy your perspective, knowing the why. You guys are on the same team, right? We have this MO. This is what we're working towards. Let's come together regardless of what. I think Yeah, I'm not married, so I can't even give any expert advice. But I think everything you said makes sense. It checks off completely.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
thank
can you just tell me more about? And we're running out of time, but
I
so
know.
can
I'm
you
like,
tell me about your project, the book you're working on? Yeah, just let us know what it is. And
yes. So the reason, the whole conversation we've had for the past,
Mhm.
let's say, 45 minutes is why we're writing this book. This is why
Okay.
I've decided to come up with this project. Because I see a
Yeah.
lot of immigrants, trying to live, the living in a country, still living their old ways, still living like like we live in Nigeria,
Mhm.
right? No, 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 no. You can't
Yeah.
do that. Number one, expectations as well. And then you're not comparing. You can compare when you're just learning to kind of, even some people that are 10 years in the country, they still consider themselves as a new immigrant because they still keep
Mhm.
learning. They're still trying to grow. So you can't compare
Yeah.
the growth of someone that is in a country for 10 years to you that you're just 2 years. You have to understand that there's a difference. There's something between there's a dash from that 2 years to that 10 years.
Yeah.
Something
Mhm.
must have happened. So I just
Mhm.
realized that people started giving up hope, you know, coming into a new country, and they see the way that everything is, it's different from the social media. It's different from what you see around you, and you feel like, oh, this is flex. Now you're seeing the reality. So
Yeah.
it's just sad. It's really sad. And it broke my
Mhm.
heart because by the time I started my financial business, and I see how people complain a lot, and I heard people tell me, oh, I want to go back to my country. I want to do this. The resilience is not there anymore. So I thought about it, and I felt like, okay, I think we should put out our stories. Let's put out our immigration stories. Let people really learn from it, undiluted, hear the struggles we've been
Mhm.
through. You know,
Yeah.
one way or the other, you'll reckon with it. You'll be able to, learn through our journey and make your journey easier. If you can see,
Mhm.
like me, my other co-writer, like Sharon, that left Iran with, the hope of coming into a new country and building something big for herself. And without even speaking English, she came into a new country like Canada, and she had to learn and unlearn and grind and make it happen for herself to build an immigration complaint for herself. Or is it Tosin that left the comfort of a parent to a new country as a young lady and have to start growing a family and have to build a business? You see, all of us, there's none of us that is perfect. There's none of us that has a really great blueprint of how life is going to be. But eventually, we're here and we're making it happen. So, of course, this should give you hope and the strength that you need to ride through your own immigration journey. So this is what
Yeah.
our project is about the journey of we immigrants, women especially, because just because we're women,
Yeah. Unique
we have to tell
experiences.
that story. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what our project is about, and it's a book. We almost going to be launching it, and it's exciting. It's really exciting. It's an exciting project for us.
Wow. Thank you so much, Damilola, because the truth is we all learn from people, other people's experiences, right? We don't exist in isolation. And when you share your story, someone else listens to it, like, oh, wow, I relate to that. Oh, that happened to me too. If she can do it, I can do it. So I think it's a very crucial work you're doing for the community. So how soon will this book be ready, and where can people purchase it from, and um, how
So
can they?
our book is going to be ready before the end of the year. I really don't want to put a specific date. We're working to September, and I hope it's
Okay.
out by September. And there's going to be a pre-order before then,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
people can buy it ahead of time before we want to make it a bestseller. That's it, because this
Yes.
is
Yes.
stories of people that have grinded, people that have, moved from one country to another with hope and expectation, and they've been bashed, they've been trashed, they've been eaten by everything you can think of, and they're still standing
Mhm.
strong. So
Yeah.
it's a story that we want everybody to be able to learn from, everybody that come in contact with our journey to be able to pick one or two things from. So
Mm-hmm.
we have, but what at this point, you can follow us on Instagram, you can follow us on Facebook fan page, Living, Loving, and Thriving. That's where all our journey is going to begin from. We're going to be telling the stories before the book is launched.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get all of those details from Damilola, and I'll put it in the description box for people who want to tune in and, I mean, I feel like there's so many of us migrating, so many Africans migrating. So this is useful resource. Please tap into it. I'm telling you, information is power. Information is power. Make sure you tap into Damilola's, work. I'm going to put it in the description box. So Damilola, how has we're running out of time, but I just have a few more questions to ask you. How has your journey of entrepreneurship been in Canada compared to Nigeria? Like, how have you been able to thrive? Are you still doing the photography business, or is it something
So
else?
I don't do photography business anymore. I don't do
Okay.
branding business anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm into finance. What I do is I want every immigrant that passed my path to
Mm-hmm.
understand how they can use the finances or the financial service in Canada, to build a very solid foundation for themselves. And that has to do with, everything you think about coming of multiplication of your finances, growing your wealth, accumulating your wealth, and also transferring your wealth. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? How can you ensure that you understand the process? Because I remember when I moved to Canada, people would tell you I wasn't as that lucky because I was an international student. Nobody want to borrow you money. They don't know if you'll be able to pay back. But as a PR holder or a new Canadian, then you can
Mm-hmm.
have access to credit, from the
Mm-hmm.
credit card to the line of credit. People will tell you, oh, how do you get a job? How do you build your career? How do you do this? Nobody will tell you, how can you multiply your income? How can you make the money you're making grow for you? Because there's a difference between when you make money and when you can multiply the money you're making. Do you get?
True.
So those are the things I want people to learn. I want new immigrants to understand it. We're moving into countries in our 30s. An average immigrant could be like 45 years old. And you want to retire. How? When? Do you understand? So you have to do things differently. You have to think
Yeah.
about things differently. And that's the journey I am on. And that's the business I do. Building my business is a very tough one because I have to start from the scratch, build the clientele, you understand? So it's a really bit difficult, but then just like every other thing, you have to pick your own
Keep
art.
grinding.
Yes,
Yeah. Keep
everything
grinding.
is the same. You have to pick your own struggle. So that's the way it
Yeah.
is. I really love what I do. I have a
Mhm.
volunteering community that I'm into, educating younger people on entrepreneurship, educating them
Okay.
about finances and how to make
Okay.
things happen. So this is what I
Yeah.
do and I love it.
I love that. Yeah. If you have your websites or whatever, just also share with me so I can put in the description if people want to like reach out to you and have you advise them, that
Sure,
would be great.
sure, I
Yeah.
will.
Learning to still will learn as Africans to, build generational wealth and know how to create more of that. So finally, Dami, what's your advice to other women, young women, African women, women from all shapes, sizes, everywhere? On yeah, just from what you've experienced.
So, first thing I want to say is I believe that migrating to a new country is not bent. If you
Mm,
decide to migrate into, for whatever reason you choose to, the reasons are very valid, but you have to make your research and plan. Don't come without having at least a good knowledge of what you want to do and where you want to start.
mhm.
Know your why. I love speaking about why. I tell it to my kids all the time. Know your
Mhm.
why and stick to it. Revolve it, change it, tweak it, but have a foundation of a strong why you're doing this in the first place. And always be grateful. I celebrate every of my win. When I'm done with you, I'm going to get a glass of wine and celebrate. I just did a podcast. Do you understand? No
Yes,
win
way to go.
small. No, celebrate your
True,
win. That makes you
true.
feel good from the inside and also gives
Mhm.
you, the push to do way more. So you have to understand that no matter what it is, be grateful. Be grateful to God. You're here today. There's a reason for you being here. You just have to understand it and look into it and decide what you want to go. So I believe that these few points, knowing your why, having a plan, and celebrating your win, try to push no matter what. Keep to your grind. Those are the mindset that myself and my other co-writers have been able to move from one point to another through our immigration journey. Are we at the destination? I don't even think there's a destination. So we keep going no matter what. So
Yeah.
just put all those mindsets into use, and before you know it, you will eventually get to that goal, get to that status that you want for yourself.
Yes, awesome. Well spoken, well said, well said. Wow. Thank you so much, Damila. It was really refreshing talking to you. Yeah, from one Nigerian lady to another. I really drew a lot of inspiration from your story. I mean, you're a strong woman. Just looking at you, I can't even believe you've been through everything you said you've been through.
Oh
So,
my God. Thank you, Zaki.
testament to your
You're really good.
resilience.
You're cute. You're amazing. I love what you do. I love you building a community for yourself. And thank you for giving us the platform to tell our story. I appreciate that.
You sure? Sure, sure. Feel free to come again whenever you want to and whenever the book is out. But yeah, send me the details. I'll put in the description box and our audience can, go enjoy your work and support you. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. We
Thank
appreciate your support. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, and keep coming back for more amazing content. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on our next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Okay.